Blended Podcasts. Brought to you by Blended Audio.
Howdy. Okay. Hello and welcome back to Talos Talks Shit. I'm your host, Massimo Meneghetti. And my name's gotten more Italian per each episode. So that's cool.
Working that enunciation. Mom will be happy.
My mom will be proud. I'm joined by my very, very good friend and co-founder of Immersive DSP, Sean Davenport.
How's it? Again?
How's it, Sean? Yeah. Hi. How are you?
Oh, it's good. It's good to be alive. It's good to be here.
Good to be here. Good to be with you. Good to be with the listeners.
Yep. Been an experience.
We have been talking about immersive audio. Immersive environments, immersive reality, everything from gaming and entertainment to some amazing medical applications, truly amazing medical applications.
Yeah.
And as we sometimes like to do after a bit of a 4-episode series, this is a bit of a shit talk. We are kind of just talking about the future of this stuff. What the potentials are, what people are saying, what people are thinking, where AI plays a role in this.
Yeah.
Not most importantly, but on topic, on brand for the podcast.
Yes.
So let me just start out by saying that you recently went to was it an immersive audio conference or was it an audio conference?
So it's called the International Conference of Spatial Audio, held in Germany, and held by the guys from like Fraunhofer, the same people that invented MP3, and a bunch of the sort of big players were there, like Dolby and Facebook Realities and things like that. It is a conference on spatial audio, but they had a big focus on immersive technologies, being VR and things like that.
So what is the difference?
So yeah, up until this point, we've been talking about immersive audio in the realm, I would say, more of virtual reality, of creating immersive environments. The technical term from the audio perspective, from the Sound and Motion Pictures group and SMPTE and the people that sort of drive Dolby, is immersive audio is essentially the abstraction of spatial objects that you use, and you're able to send that in a distribution format to a renderer that renders it to any loudspeaker array. So there is a bit of a cross talk, you could say. But the conference itself is more on the actual algorithms that we're allowed to render this immersive audio, spatial audio. They're kind of synonymous with each other within the audio world.
Okay, so obviously being a conference, you guys people are presenting on things that aren't necessarily implemented.
Yes, very much.
So
Yeah.
I don't know, can you speak about what you presented?
Yes, I don't see a problem with that. It's going to be released in a publication at some point. I presented essentially on an extension of our current system, which allows for us to allow for 2 algorithms, or actually 3 algorithms, to be rendered simultaneously using our system. So that's amplitude panning techniques with objects, as well as ambisonic rendering with these different microphone recordings or ambisonic effects. There's a lot of really nice way of doing spatial audio effects using that, harnessing the ambisonic format.
Okay, so basically more power, more sound.
Yeah, exactly. More algorithms.
more maths, more sound.
Yeah, there's lots, and there's some very high-level people there. Some of the guys that really pioneered ambisonics as a format there, and they had this really cool showcasing the students' 3D audio production competition. Where they had a whole bunch of people from all over the world, like America and Germany and all sorts of other places, come and actually play their sound back on I think it was a 32.2 channel rig. That everyone could listen to.
Cool.
And it was sort of like a combination of their sound art, so documentary forms of spatial audio ambisonics, music, and or contemporary music, and what was the last one? Audio drama, they call it, I think.
Audio drama? What is audio drama?
Kind of like documentaries, except with audio. So I don't know if you guys have ever listened to the NPR podcast or whatever, but there's those people that sort of, they tell you like a narrative through the sound. You don't watch something, but it's a drama piece essentially with audio.
So basically like an old school radio drama, but for the future.
Yeah, pretty much. So some interesting ones, like people who have recreated World War II. The one that they did there was a piece of this singer going through the hustle and bustle of the city to the final entry point where she's like singing at this big opera piece, and trying to capture this sense of being in that person's shoes.
And obviously the opera space she eventually ends up in is based on a real space, like we were talking about the people recording.
Yeah, archiving spaces,
Yeah.
So these students were able to essentially take a whole bunch of 3D audio recording technology, and there is so much. I've literally just touched the brim in this podcast. But different ways of recording 3D audio and ambiences, and they just essentially, it was like a 7-person team, and they got to just essentially go and record and do all sorts of different post-production methods to create this audio drama, which I'm really jealous about. I would love to have done that.
Well, I mean, you're not too shabby yourself. You have done some sort of art installation pieces and
thanks, man.
Yeah, some things. And also, unfortunately, this podcast will be out after the fact, but we are busy planning a little bit of an immersive music evening here in Cape Town.
Very
Some
exciting.
very select bands.
Blands.
Bands, not blands, bands. And although by the time you hear this, that gig will have been and passed and will have been very successful, obviously.
Yes. Hopefully be able to see another one.
Yeah, well, also, we are hoping to post a video online.
Yes.
One where you can move around in the sound. And I don't want to blow too much smoke up our asses, but this is...
Yeah, not at this point. It's still early days.
Early days, yeah, but also just the fact, I think we should be proud that we are doing something definitely for the first time in South Africa.
Yes.
And, a very new thing globally in general.
Yeah.
We are trying to be on the cutting edge ourselves. So I don't just talk shit, I try to do shit too.
Yeah, it's important.
Yeah.
We're gonna be like those VR guys in the YouTube videos, dude. They're actually doing shit.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, they're actually doing shit in those VR environments. So yeah, that's something coming up. That's a future thing. Is getting music involved in this? Because obviously we've been talking about movies, post-production, dramas, gaming, etc., and immersive music is pretty amazing when you get it right.
Yeah, when you get it right. That's the key crux there. I think it's really hard for musicians to have to learn a new tool, like a music tool, because you have to figure out a way to express yourself in 3D, essentially. And most things like compression and things like that, while they're very necessary in 3D, sometimes you have to be a little bit more subtle with that stuff, because the rig takes up the space, or the 3D space has a space already. You don't have to try to carve out frequencies for things to fit and things like that. And obviously there's, you can get very discreet by moving individual objects, but something that I'm really excited about bringing is for DJs to just have buttons that they can press, and it essentially triggers like an effect that they would like to listen to, and that listeners would like to listen to, without having to know too much about, okay, I have to hold this thing while I'm holding that thing and doing all these different things.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's sort of like the way in the late 90s, music technology sort of went from being this very elitist, high-end thing to being in the hands of consumers with things like Tascam tape recorders and drum machines and
thank God
those
for hip-hop,
kinds of
man.
things.
I want to bring
Thank
hip-hop
God
to
for
immersive
hip-hop,
audio, man. For
Yeah.
real. And dub, like dub's already spacey. We're like, you know what I mean? If we could have immersive space with dub music, that would be the sickest.
Well, don't give all our secrets away. We'll have to be surprised by something.
Well, hopefully we can play the back sometime.
Yeah, you never know. Keep listening to the podcast and we might just have a bit of a live immersive beat making session.
Yeah.
Just experimenting.
Yeah.
So yeah, these anytime a new technology gets put into the hands of creatives, cool things happen.
Definitely.
And I'm very excited about that myself. I'm very into music and production and all of those things. So I'm really looking forward to that. Then, I mean, what else were people talking about at this conference?
So some very interesting stuff was, obviously, being an AI podcast, they were talking about AI and selective hearing, which is quite interesting.
Not the gigs.
Yeah, not the gigs, sorry. Shout outs to Muff and all the people from that side, Gil as well, and just so many people to name, B1, all those guys.
The selective hearing
crew. But anyway, so this selective hearing is slightly different. This selective hearing is an algorithm or an algorithmic method, where there can be many, to pick out sounds from your environment, which is very interesting. So if you were to work in like a high density sound zone, a high noise zone, like construction sites, factory construction sites, and there's a siren that goes off because the factory's just suddenly started burning, and you're just sitting there muscling away with your earmuffs on, you don't know what's going on, and then suddenly you're literally burning alive.
That escalated very quickly.
Yeah, exactly, and there's screams and all sorts of things. Very immersive. But no, so the way that this research has been going now is to try and fit these artificial intelligence algorithms to try and pick out certain sounds. So instead of just wearing this earmuff that deadens the whole environment, you can still hear the environment at an attenuated level that's hearable and audible. And if there were to be something like a siren that goes off or something like that, the headphones themselves will actively cancel all the other ambient sound and trigger that environment sound to come out.
Sure. How far along are they on this kind of technology?
They gave us live demos, and I must say it was very impressive. So it was interesting though. So something that immersive audio and immersive technology in general allows for is a lot of simulation, and data simulation in particular. So one big problem with AI, thanks after listening to the podcasts and all the other recommendations you've given me along this journey, the problem with AI is that we need to generate data, and we need to be able to access data, and there's only so many people in the world that can hold up camera and take pictures and classify things. So
that's very true. Yeah.
So one way to get around that is to simulate the data and create models that we can use and generate different environments and different situations. So that's one thing that the Fraunhofer immersive audio system is doing. They are simulating sounds like sirens flying around you or flying around the space, and then they're actually using their headphone technology to record these sounds and try separate the sounds of ambient sound, which is also what the render is playing back, and try take out all of that ambient sound and just get the straight siren sound. They played some demos, and I must say it was very impressive. You could hear them very well.
Well, that just to bring that down to consumer level, so you got a pair of noise-cancelling headphones and you're walking down the street. It's pretty important to know that there's an ambulance coming very fast from your right.
Yeah, definitely.
And for the headphones to be able to notice that and pick that up specifically in the environment, instead of just adding a layer of ambient noise in general, which is what they kind of do now. When you're walking around a city, they just kind of add a little bit of everything, which sort of decreases the experience of having noise cancelling headphones. So if you could have the noise cancelling and then the noise when you need it, that's I can see that being very widely adopted.
Very adaptive. So I think the thing that AI is going to bring to the immersive audio table is a lot of adaptation, allowing environments to adapt to the listener on a very general scale. This obviously feeds into everything, like immersive medical. There's that big Achille Interactive, I think Adam Ghazali is the guy's name that sort of runs it. And they've been doing amazing things like bringing ADHD medication as a form of digital therapeutic rather than Ritalin or something. But the research that they need to really adapt their environment to the perceiver.
To the individual, the person getting treatment.
Yeah, exactly. Otherwise, it breaks immersion and it doesn't allow for the medication to be as effective. I'm not too much of an AI fundi. Like, I understand it, but I did a course on it in not high school, but in university. So I understand a little bit how it works, like backprop and all these things. But I think, there's a lot of room for that sort of research to start really flourishing. And I do know some local guys that are looking into adaptive mixing and things like that, like allowing the environment to mix itself, essentially, rather than having an engineer there doing it.
Yeah, that's very cool. I can imagine the adaptiveness for the medical applications are super important.
Yes.
Because that's a large part of medicine at the moment. It's a sort of one-size-fits-all thing, and sometimes you don't fit that size.
Yeah.
So to be able to actively update and adapt to the people is a really cool thing.
Yeah, I think it's quite amazing. I think also, as I said, the data simulation, that's a huge avenue for immersive research to really take off, I think. And being able to put someone in there and be like, okay, is this real? Like that adversarial network stuff, that blows me away, because it's like the generator needs to generate something that can fool the receiver, is it, or the thing?
Yeah.
Or the discriminator, I think that's what it was.
The discriminator, yeah.
And I was always wondering, I was like, so what is that generator generating? If they're generating cats, like what does that generator's cat picture look like?
Yeah.
And it's very interesting because fake news and all this stuff coming out these days, and I think audio is a huge thing for that. If we can generate speech, we can generate fake news, and there's a lot of algorithms that are doing that quite well already. So,
well, also just thinking off the cuff here, if you can develop an algorithm to do sort of the reverse, so instead of creating immersive environments, it can read whether the environment that the audio is coming from was an actual environment, whether it has...
It's real.
It's real, yeah, exactly. Whether it has sort of realistic characteristics, or whether it notices sort of audio-adapted algorithms to try fool people.
Yeah, I think that's a huge thing in the security world. I have some friends working in the security world. Shouts out to them. I'm not going to mention their name because the security guys generally like to remain a bit quiet about what they're doing. But there is some very interesting research going into things like that, I think. And I think it's becoming more and more pertinent as this technology becomes all-encompassing and everyone's just watching CNN all the time or whatever, and YouTube.
And we're pretty much literally going to have, not phones, but virtual environments strapped to our faces all the time, and not that many years, Yeah. I mean, Microsoft is already working on the HoloLens, and
IR.
There's companies trying to... And IR, implanted reality.
Yeah. So I don't know if any of you listeners have watched Black Mirror, but where that guy's playing Street Fighter and it's just a little implant that he puts in and he's completely in this other world. Was it John McCarthy, the guy that runs Oculus? He's getting very excited about that. And I think Neuralink from Elon Musk, they're also looking very much at that sort of technology.
So yeah, it's not as far away and as futuristic as we think.
It's moving fast.
And I think that's all we're going to leave you with this week. I don't know if you want to add any closing notes, Sean.
I can add some.
Where can people check out your stuff? Or
come through to immersivedsp.com, or you can check me, or you can even drop me an email. I don't know if I should put that on the podcast. Should I just do that?
No, they can get you on your site.
Yeah, come to immersivedsp.com. And if you're around ever and you see me, Sean Davenport, lying around, please just come talk to me. Always keen to chat. There's so much technology that I could share. I wish there was a website for the podcast that we could just add resources to things that people can check out, because it's some really cool stuff.
Well, we might just start doing that because, I think that's really useful. And specifically for something like this, I'd dig to get audience and listener feedback.
Yep.
Well, on that note, thank you very much, listeners. Thank you, Sean.
Yep, it's been a pleasure. Thank you, Massimo.
Been an absolute pleasure.
Talos.
And thank you, Talos.
Yeah.
And thank you, Blended Podcasts, for allowing us to host this show and putting it out there for us. Please check out all the other episodes. There's some really, really cool other shows under the Blended Network.
Yeah. And I think Sound Vibes.
Please check out.
They must check this out as well.
Yeah, sound vibes, a bit of a cross correlation there.
So
Great podcast by those guys. I've been digging it. And also check out all our social media, Blended Podcasts on Facebook and Instagram. Post updates pretty much every day. And thank you, listeners, for listening. We are going to segue out with something a little different. Sean is going to play a bit of immersive music.
Yep, this is something I found online and something I'm really happy about, that people are actually uploading formats like this that we can just listen to on any sort of headphone or loudspeaker. This is from synhtweaks.com, I think. There's a guy there called Dave that builds this stuff. So enjoy.
Shout out, Dave.
Yeah, shout out Dave. I only got his first name.
Cheers, guys. Hope you enjoy.